All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody, as you're starting to come in today. And before I start talking too much, I just want to make sure that first you can see me, you can hear me. And the way you can do that is by putting in the chat where you're from. So if you don't mind putting in the chat where you're from, I appreciate that. So that way we know where you're coming from, but at the same time, this is a live meeting and you may have some questions. And we love for everybody to put their question in the chat because our investor today has a lot of information he wants to share today. And we want to make sure that we can hear him. So thank you for everybody who's starting to do that now because we got people from New York, Brooklyn's in the house. Hey, we got Southern Delaware showing up today. We got Miami. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. It's probably warm in Miami right now. Hey, Washington, D.C.'s in the house. How you doing, D? Seattle, Washington, Tom Michelle's out of there. Hey, we got Wardorf, Maryland. Hey, you doing, Canada? Ooh, we got Vancouver, Canada. Good morning. That's what I'm talking about. You way up north. Hey, we got Columbus, Ohio. Good to see you. Good morning. Memphis, Tennessee is here. Hey, Bobby, Great Lakes State. That's what I'm talking about. How you doing? Hey, we got Lorton, Virginia. How you doing, Renee? Hey, we got some more people starting to come in now. We are so glad that you're here today. Thank you for putting in the chat where you're from, and you get to ask your questions that way too. Oh, we got a good one for you today. Whew, I'm so excited. So I'm gonna tell you right now, you really want to pay attention to this one because they got some twists and turns on this right here. As you see the property tour, you see the title fix and hold. There's gonna be some twists and turns. You're gonna be like have some questions. So I'm saying don't wait till the last minute. Ask it as you starting to hear things, and this is gonna be really awesome. But before we even go any further, before we get started, I'm gonna tell you right now, because there's gonna be so much content that's gonna be shared today, and it's gonna be coming to you really fast, just go ahead and tell the person thank you who invited you to this meeting. So, they may send you like a Zoom link or they email you or text you or whatever case may be. Go ahead and tell them thank you because what you're going to hear today is going to be really awesome. And I don't want you to forget and feel bad, right? So if you go ahead and do that, that would be really awesome. So, you know what, Scott? I'm looking at the time we about to ready to get started. I want to say thank you for putting this together because if it wasn't for you, you know, having other investors who's in action, because there's some people today that are probably thinking about, you know what, should I do this thing called real estate investing? And they just not 100% sure. So they came today just to see what is it like, kind of gleam off of what somebody's doing today in action. But then there's some folks who are already doing real estate investing and they're probably looking at another strategy they may want to do. And then there's some folks who just want to take the game to the next level. But if it wasn't for you putting this together, we wouldn't have this. You've been doing it for some time. And I am just really grateful that you actually had the idea, the concept to say, you know what, there's people doing stuff right now. Why don't we just get them together and just share as they're in action? And I sure do appreciate it. So, Scott, I want to turn it over to you, my friend.
Well, Keith, thank you very much. First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Well, if you see the little sign behind me today, I'm actually not set up in my house. We had like a sleepover with grandkids last night. So I got a bunch of kids that are just starting to wake up in my house. And I knew how that was going to go. So I literally had to set up down at my fitness center in my facility that I live in. So if you see a sign behind me, I live in Florence, Kentucky, which is just south of Cincinnati, Ohio. And but Keith, yeah, this is exciting. We This is like my favorite thing of the week. It really is. I mean, besides my family and my grandkids and God, this is like in my deals, of course, but this is like one of my favorite things to do on Saturdays mornings is to do these property tours. We've been doing them now, and I've been involved with it directly. I was probably the founder that started this Saturday morning at 11 a.m. property tour. It'll be 6 years in June. It's just hard to imagine. We're in the 270s. I haven't actually took the time to count every single one of them, but it kind of hit me last night. 270 plus property tours. That's a lot of property tours. And we have a great investor on today. We've never featured Kelvin before. Kelvin doesn't, if you see the flyer, it talks about North Carolina, Mount Pleasant, okay, which is a little bit away out of Charlotte. But Kelvin's not in North Carolina. He'll talk about that here in a minute. And but again, today's March 8th, guys. I don't know where you're at in the country, but it's actually we've had some warm days. This week we're supposed to be in the 70s this week. I mean, we're going to have people walking around in shorts and t-shirts up here. It's kind of exciting, you know. So, and then Keith, we're going to be getting on planes from all around the country in less than what 2 weeks, and we're
Exactly.
we're going to be flying to Salt Lake City as our community is having its national conference, and this will be my 10th conference, which I'm as fired up as I've ever been to attend. And for folks that are on today, if you're a guest, reach out to who invited you because they might have something special, Keith, that they can tell them about that conference, right?
Exactly.
I'm not going to take any thunder away, but check it out. Get back with who invited you. So, Keith, once you introduce our investor and kind of get into the deal a little bit, and then we'll get some questions as we go along. And like I said, I've seen the pictures and know a little bit about this, but I'm really anxious to hear all the nuts and bolts and the twists and the strategies and all that. So go ahead.
Yeah, so you know what? So I'm saying, hey, Kelvin, a lot of people are here. They really hear your story, and we're just having a conversation. I mean, man, you're an awesome guy, and I can see that your flyer and your other half is there. I know you're holding down the fort. So if you don't mind, kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and why you got started in real estate investing, and just kind of like tell your story, and we appreciate that.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here on my first property tour. Really appreciate the opportunity, and I like the way that title investor. I like the way that sounded when you introduced me. So I'm really proud of that, and I feel like I'm just getting started. But my name's Kelvin Thomas. I live in Upper Bowie, Maryland, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C. So we're just, within 15 minutes of the city, and I've lived here pretty much my entire life. My wife, who can't be here at the moment, she has something else going on with a project that she's working on. So she may pop in at some point and say hello. She's from the area as well. Um, we are parents of five adult children. They're all out of the house, so we're empty nesters. So that's another exciting part of our lives and stuff like that.
You look too young to have all five out of the house.
Oh yeah, they had to go. No, but no, they but no, I appreciate that.
And I saw a picture of your wife. I've never met her, but you look like you married a young woman.
Yeah, I did. I did. She might tell you she's 29. She's been stuck at that age for a while, but her and her sister. But no, we fortunately hear that a lot about, our parents look a little bit younger than we actually feel. But so no, I appreciate that. But career-wise, I'm a retired firefighter, retired at the rank of fire battalion chief in one of the neighboring jurisdictions, counties right outside the District of Columbia. I served a little over 34 years in that department. That certainly doesn't feel that way. So that was my focus for a long time in my life. That career helped me raise my family. We purchased various properties to live in, which I always thought was somehow an asset. Later learned that it wasn't. And so, we felt like we did pretty well. But after, having a career in the fire service for so long, W-2 income, ordinary income, and stuff like that, I always worked a lot of overtime, thought I was really making a difference, bringing home big numbers, but I was getting taxed like crazy. So it didn't work out quite as well as I thought in terms of the income piece, even though I did numbers wise, I did pretty well. So anyway, I wanted to change. Wanted a change in career. I was looking for something different. And despite us, have purchased lots of properties or various properties to live into. We've lived in some nice homes over the years. I think most of them were new construction and all that stuff. I just had this thing like something just isn't right. So, I began the journey of financial literacy, learning more about that. So, just finding little courses and people to talk to, just to try to figure this out. And that's what kind of led me into the real estate world. And so, kept fishing around. I ended up uh, buying, getting a education package from someone who really wasn't that involved, but I got it. And then I ran into a community out in Virginia who basically embraced me and stuff like that. And it's been downhill ever since. My journey really took off after that point, after I started engaging with people, actual people, and not just reading stuff on a screen or out of a book. And so that's where I am here. That's how I've gotten to the point that I am right now.
Oh, that's awesome, because that's what a lot of people are trying to figure out. How did this investor really get started? For some reason, people think that they got started because they was passed down like a whole bunch of houses, or they always knew it from the day of birth, or something like that. We always kind of make up these things when we don't really understand. And for you just to take some time out and just say, hey, I'm just a regular guy who is living my life. These are the things that I do. First of all, thank you for your service as a firefighter. And
Yes, absolutely. I was when he first came on, I was really looking at all the helmets and all the stuff behind them, and I, obviously assumed, and you know what happens when we all assume. I was like, this guy's a firefighter, or he was a firefighter. And then I saw your lovely bride and you up in the top, in my top left. I'm like, that's not him. That guy has a whole bunch of hair. And
Right.
so 34 years in the fire department. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. We all just appreciate all firefighters and policemen. So thank you very much. So Keith was talking about um, kind of letting us know a little bit about yourself and your journey. And you didn't mention anything about your wife's journey, but that's okay. Um, we'll get you back on a proper tour, because one of the things we always love doing, Kelvin, is when we have someone early on, like this process or where you're at is early on this deal. We like to come back to you in 60 days or 90 days, and you give us an update. Is that okay?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, we love that. And then maybe that time we'll get lucky and have your wife on.
okay. I mean, but just real quickly, I mean, she is a software tester. She deals in the IT world and she has her own business. So she's doing
Hmm.
well with that. And that's currently what she's engaged in right now. They have a big launch of something going on. But yeah, she's still doing that. She's been doing that for it's been a few decades. So I don't want to say the exact numbers, but she's been doing it a while.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great field, and I've got 5 children and 8 grandchildren, and I have suggested to them, my grandchildren, hey, really be serious about the IT world and computers and technology, because I didn't growing up. I kind of blew it off. I grew up. Some of you guys will know I grew up when they had DOS and Cobalt and all that old stuff, and I was like, that stuff's never going to be day to day in people's lives. And so, wow, has it all changed? So, tell us a little bit about this deal, right? You live in Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C. What are you, about 30 minutes outside of Washington
About
in Bowie?
15, 20
Oh,
minutes
about 15.
outside. But I live
Well, it
in
depends on
Bowie.
the traffic. You're 15, but some days it could be 2 hours, right?
Oh, well, you got that right. One of the worst places for traffic, the DMV, they call it. But
Yes,
I'm
the
actually
loop.
in Bowie, Maryland.
Yeah, Bowie, Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I said Virginia,
Yeah.
Maryland.
Mhm.
So, but you're doing a deal in North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Last time I checked, there's a few miles between Bowie, Maryland, and North Carolina where you're doing this deal. Tell us a little bit how you came across the deal. How did you pick the state, or was the deal the deal? It wasn't so much the state; it was the deal. A lot of times, people do real estate close to their family or where they like to travel. I know I have a rental portfolio in Kansas, and I live in Kentucky. but I also have family in Kansas, so it kind of helps out. So let's tell everybody about this deal and how you found it.
Well, first of all, I think I look everywhere. I look locally at deals that come across. We live in a relatively expensive area. Not that you can't find deals up here, you can. It's just, some of them may require, more money that you either have to raise or have or whatever. And also, I looked in the Carolinas. Carolinas have a special place in my heart. I had some grandparents that used to live there, and I used to go there in the summer. So I always just loved kind of going there. I just love the Carolinas. So naturally, it was a good place for me to look. Things are a little cheaper down there. So that's one thing. But, I've received listings from wholesalers, you know, and from this area down through the Virginia into the Carolinas. So, when they send me off-market properties, things like that, I just kind of look at them and run some quick numbers. And most of the time, it doesn't work out. The numbers just don't fit where I need them to be. But on this particular deal in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, the numbers just kind of worked. So I kind of did a double take, and I'm like, wait a minute, okay, the numbers actually work on this. Let me dig into this a little deeper. And so that's exactly what I did. So, again, I've been looking at the Carolinas anyway, looking at various communities down there. I do have, a buddy who's kind of like a wholesaler or broker down there. That's not where I got this property from. But I'm always kind of peeking in those various markets down there anyway. So it was just kind of natural. But I was actually surprised at how well the numbers fit on this one. And that's why I jumped on it.
Awesome. You have some, so I guess we can go ahead and roll into it because I know people are like really anxious to see this property, and you in Maryland, the properties in North Carolina, and they're just like, they're kind of curious about this. So you have some slides or something you want to show us?
Yeah, I can show you those if you want to share my screen, or I can go in there and share my screen. Hold on, let me get to that. Share.
And as
All
well,
right.
let's get ready to share. If y'all have questions, get ready because he's about to share some stuff. So get ready to put your questions in the chat there.
Absolutely. So here's just some of the property information. Again, the property is in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, which is like a rural kind of just outside the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina. It's probably to the northeast of Charlotte. Out there. I can't think of, maybe some people might be familiar with maybe Concord, North Carolina, or Kannapolis, Albemarle, I think is the name of a town that's kind of nearby. But it's like I said, you could be in the city, the actual city, within about 30 minutes or so. Um, so it's right there. You'll see from the pictures that some of it does look like a kind of rural area. So this particular area, things are definitely spaced out, um, but they are seeing a lot of growth out there. That market is definitely heating up in that area, which is a good thing. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from other investors, a realtor. So that wave is certainly moving to that area, which is certainly benefiting me already. So, single family house. It has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. It's about 2,300 square feet, and it's sitting on 3.5 acres. Now the acreage is cool. That's not something that I was actually targeting. It just happened to work, for the deal and all that stuff. And I actually found out that, and I call it a bonus garage, but there's a detached garage on it's like 25 by 50 on the property. And it's a little way from the house, so it's a separate thing. So that's going to go good for marketing the property because it does have electric to it, and you can use it as a shop or a storage area for large RVs and things like that. So this is going to be a benefit and it's going to help me move the property, I think.
I agree.
All right.
Definitely.
All right, so here's the main road there. So obviously you can tell that it's in a rural area, but again it's getting busy. And this driveway happens to be a shared driveway. This driveway actually goes through my property and goes beyond it, and then there's like two or three houses way in the back. So this is the only access to those other houses. So this thing is cutting right through my property. So to the right and left of this drive here is my property on both sides. And there's actually a little creek that runs through the property. So it's kind of interesting property. You can see here that things are overgrown. This used to be probably manicured grass to some degree at some point, but it's just overgrown. So we'll correct that before we put the house on the market. Here's an actual picture of the house, and it's ugly. And it's not going to be ugly when I'm done with it, but when I saw how ugly the house looked, and I'm looking beyond the ugliness of it, I'm like, this thing does have some good potential, really good
But
potential.
as investors, ugly houses kind of excite me.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of weird to people, but one of the things we look for is we look for the two big things that we look for are distressed properties and motivated sellers. So yeah, I get it. It looks kind of blah and looks like there hasn't been any updates done to it forever. But boy, that's probably going to be a gem in the rough type of thing. So I'm going to ask a quick question. I don't,
Mhm.
no one's asked it yet, but being out in the rural area, okay. I mean, you definitely look like this is out in the country. It's something that would be close to my heart. I love the country. I love living out in the country. I love when I travel. I love staying in the country or in the mountains or whatever. And it was a one of the things we do as investors to try to figure out the strategy, and you're going to get into that here in a minute. Was it complicated or hard to come up with a pretty good ARV to after you got this thing? An ARV for everybody on is after repair value. Was it hard to establish that being in the rural area?
Well, actually, one of the first things I did, I would say not really, but trying to find some good comps on it, that could be a little more challenging because things were spread out. But when I first saw the asking price for the house, I used some software, iOS software. Some people are familiar with that within the community. And the software suggested what the ARV was, or the market value of the house should have been. And I said, man, the asking price versus that, I'm in a really good place, where I have options, whether I want to flip it, keep it, rent it, things like that. So that played out pretty well, and that's what caused me to kind of look further into it.
Okay, so so you talked about using the systems, but you also talked about you converse with some people within the area. So North Carolina, is close to your heart. So, but did you learn how to do this thing? Like some people call it market analysis. Is that something that, or you just relied on their expertise?
No, well, I relied initially on my knowledge, the knowledge that I was gaining. I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more, but getting educated in the game, it helped me to develop a market analysis of the property. So, I ran my own numbers, I used software, I looked at some other public sites, just to get a general feel for, how real or how confident I was in the numbers that I was seeing initially. And things just kept, kind of checking out. And that's why I moved forward. But I did actually uh, find a local realtor who's very familiar with that market, and she did help out. She actually turned out to be uh, um, the wife of a friend of mine, who contacted me when he saw that I posted something about the property. And, where's the property? It's at Mount Pleasant. He said, oh, that's where I live. So he said, call me. We talked. Hey, my wife's a realtor. Perfect. I was screening realtors anyway. So that was perfect. So
So
yeah,
you
that's how that worked out.
so you just dropped some golden nuggets that I want to make sure that everybody caught. So you gain knowledge, you had a desire, you increase your knowledge, which also increase your confidence. At the same time, it allows you to take action. And when people saw you taking action, they wanted to converse with you. And then it's like, oh yeah, there goes so and so. And then you kind of build your team as we talk about as you preparing, as you're going to talk more about this of how you are handling this project. So that's really, I just want to make sure that you said it, but I want to make sure people understood that there was a process that you went through, and I really do appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, I think the key term there is really just taking action, because I hadn't yet built out a full team of people. I had to go through a process to get there for that. But the deal was so good that I felt like, well, okay, no, I need to take action, and I've learned how to find other tradespeople, and things like that. And, so I'll get through that process, but let me, take action and try to get this property.
Awesome, awesome. So we ready to see your pictures. I know people are like sitting on the edge of their chair, like, oh, they want to see it.
I mean, so again, I'm thinking ugly is good in this case. I was concerned about, as an investor, I'm kind of proud to say that part, but as an investor, you're looking through the cosmetic stuff. You're trying to look through. I'm concerned about the roof, the foundation, and some of the other major components inside the house to kind of factor in how much it would cost to rehab this property. And so, right off the bat, when I'm looking at this house, and I'm familiar with this type of setup home, a split level home, but I hadn't ever seen one with a big front porch looking thing on it. So, that kind of added to the aesthetics of the house. And I'm like, okay, that would be one of the first things I do is get rid of that. I didn't see any value in that. So here's some other pictures. It has like a circular driveway. Both ends of that, like horseshoe driveway, it whips around to the front of the house and it comes back out on that initial road, that I showed you off the main road. So kind of a neat driveway. We're addressing the driveway itself and all that stuff. Just another angle, the other side of the house, coming in from the other side of the horseshoe there. You can see that the house has an above ground pool. I'm automatically thinking, hey, does that pool have any value for me? Is it worth, dealing with if I want to put renters in this house? Or what if I just remove the thing altogether? Is it worth the headache? So these are questions that I was automatically asking myself from the very beginning. Again, there's trash everywhere. The tenants had moved out just before we closed. That was one of the stipulations. They had to be out before we closed. And so they didn't move out much. It may have taken, I don't know how much stuff was in the house, but there was still a lot of stuff in the house after they'd supposedly vacated the house. And then there's another garage, which I'll show you later, that had a ton of stuff in it as well. And they did take some of that. They were still kind of taking that stuff out as, after I closed. So just, some redundant pictures. I think I'll go around the house. It's the back side of the house. Again, cosmetically, I'm looking at, the brick looks pretty good on the house. New soffits, or, the soffits look like they're in good shape underneath the gutters and things like that. Looks like it's pretty good. I walked around the property with three general contractors, getting different points of view, perspectives on things that we might be able to do to it. It's got a really nice, well, potentially nice back porch area that goes the length of the house, which restored would be a pretty nice feature. There's just another section of the pool. And you can see right here how the people were living. with all the trash. I guess they like beer, because they filled that thing up with it, those cartons and stuff. So pretty trashy. But again, I'm looking at the important components of the house and I'm thinking, okay, this thing is doable.
So you saw that it was pretty much solid, a solid house because one of the questions that came in, like from Ash, was like, what tool did you use to estimate the repairs? Like, what was your process?
I went into this investor software, the operating system that many of us use in the community, and it has a feature in there that you can estimate repairs. So based on the pictures, because I hadn't yet been out there physically, I was adding in things. Okay, I can see that maybe the floors need to be replaced, the walls need to be repaired in some areas, of ceiling, new kitchen, new bathroom, just and it would help me estimate the cost to repair those items as I went along. So I use software to help do that. And, some personal knowledge of knowing what some things might cost generally. And, try to keep the numbers pretty conservative, you know. So I think that worked out pretty well.
Okay, yeah, and then Sharon asked, like, it looks like it, got the bones, and she was just curious. Do you know the year like this house was built?
Oh yeah, yeah, good question. The house was built in 1961.
Okay,
Hmm.
awesome. And then you got all the acreage, so that's. Does it have like? So I'm going to assume that it's like well water and
Yeah, it's on
septic.
well and septic, yes. Hmm.
Awesome. So
And
this,
with it built in the 60s, Kelvin, and looking at the exterior of the house, looking at the fascia underneath the gutters and the gutters themselves and the
Hmm.
soffits and the siding, that's not original. That's been put on since. And it doesn't actually, with a little bit of power washing, I think it looks, and of course I didn't see every picture, but it looks like it's in really good shape.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And in person, it looks that way as well. Sometimes, pictures can deceive you, but really in person, it looks good. It's definitely savable, and the contractors agreed. The roof actually has a few more years in it.
Good.
And we can condition the roof. There's some things they can do to it to, add a few years and all that. So I'm like, okay, some things are checking out. Um, this picture is just a picture of the main area when you come in. It's been modified over the years. The original ceilings in this house had like tiles. I forget, I don't know what the tiles are called, but you can see in this area they kind of drywalled it out. But parts over the kitchen to the right of this picture had those original tiles, and then they kind of put some spackling over the tiles, and then that ceiling actually began to drop. So there's some pictures where we actually pulled the ceiling down because it was coming down anyway. But again, just nasty. Contractor, he's looking, he's like, man, I think I can save the cabinets. I don't see it, but he's the expert kind of. So we have some options there to either replace the cabinets or, but we certainly have some options there, and there may be some possibility of spending some money because I really accounted for a full gut in the kitchen in terms of my numbers. Um, Nice looking fireplace. We got to make sure that fireplace, the flue and everything is intact. That's going to be a part of it. Um, Split level. So you get, once you get in the house, you can go up or go down. That's actually my wife there, as we were kind of walking around the property. You look upstairs. I mean, you look at this hallway, it doesn't look in bad shape. And this is before the clean out of the property. And I might, remind you that this property is still in progress. We're in the clean out phase of this property right now. So uh, the inside is pretty much cleaned out, and then we have some other structures and things like that we need to clear out on the outside. But if you look at this hallway, it looks pretty good. They looks like they painted it within the last few years, did some repairs for whatever reason. It's one of the bedrooms. Again, they left stuff in there, but okay, we that's part of the numbers. What does it cost to clean this place out? Looking downstairs, pretty consistent, unfinished part of the basement. This was some
Mm.
of those ceilings that we went ahead and just dropped anyway. They were coming down in the kitchen and they were kind of sagging. So we just, you know what, they got to come down. So let's just take them down and clean it out all at once. Picture of the inside actually cleaned out. We are going to redo the walls, put up new drywall there. We're going to replace the floors, put LVP flooring down in this area here. Build out a new island knee wall with a knee wall in there and all that. This is a part of the kitchen. There's a breezeway through that door that goes to the exterior. There's a half bath on the other side of those poles there. So a lot of good promise here. This is one of the bedrooms. This is what looks to be the original tiles in some of the areas. So we're going to fix that up, smooth all that stuff out. You can see that they probably did some rehab to this room at some point over the years with the 6 panel doors there. Kind of a neat feature
Mhm.
there. They have some built-in drawers and shelves and stuff like that. It'd be a nice feature once it's fixed up to help market and sell the place. So same thing in the other rooms. The bathrooms, we do have some plans on, replacing some of the things in here and updating it. Basement, there's kind of like a partially unfinished part of the basement, and there's an actual bedroom and a full bath down there. Um, you can see the pictures of the clean out there. And this is the bonus garage, the detached garage. This thing's probably about, I don't know, 100 feet, 150 feet from the house. So it's just, I don't envision somebody pulling their car in on a rainy day, trying to use that garage and then running up the hill to the house. But hey, that's their prerogative. Or they could use it for something totally different, whether they want to put a shop in it or whatever. So, um, yeah,
That's a really that's a really good shaped barn. That wasn't there originally. You can tell by the structure, the material that was used. Just like you could tell that the windows have been replaced in that house because those aren't the original windows.
right,
And I loved that you talked about, your mind. One of the first things when you're looking at a property is you go instantly to what we call the majors, right? We'll think about electrical and plumbing and HVAC and windows and roofing and the foundation and, the more expensive things. And then the kitchen and the bathrooms. So you're addressing a lot of those today, which is great as you go through that. And if the roof's in great shape, you got looks like fairly new windows. The exterior is in good shape. If the bones are good, somebody mentioned that earlier, meaning that it's a solid built. It's not like cracks that I could see as you went around the outside of the house. The brick is in great shape. That's there as well, and so that's really nice. I mean, the electrical, for instance, Kelvin, are you going to have to update that service? Is it the
yeah,
original
I've
electrical
had
from
an
the 60s?
electrician in there, and it looks like we can keep most of it. We may have to replace some of the components in the box itself, but it looked like the electrical system is savable, and they can make that work. Uh,
Is it using the old Romex or has it been
no,
upgraded?
no, it's been upgraded over the years.
Okay.
It's been upgraded, yeah, and that was one of the things when we first saw the took a look at the electrical panel, which I hadn't seen until I physically arrived there. There was some thought that we may have to replace uh,
Mhm.
replace the entire electrical system. And to
And you
be
said
honest,
there's electrical ran out to this garage here.
yes, there is. Yep.
It's almost, I don't know how, I mean, the picture's a little deceiving, but if that's a 8, 10, 12, that's probably what, 20, 22 feet wide?
Yeah, it's about almost 25 feet wide, and what was it,
40 deep?
40, 45
Okay.
deep or
Yeah, if
50?
you got electro out there, if you decide to rent this property, That would be a couple great options. One, it could be another revenue stream. You could rent that out as well. And if the tenant doesn't want to rent it out, there could be other people in the area that would love to have a nice, if there's access to it from the round driveway or from the road. I'm seeing money here, is what I'm seeing, Kelvin. I'm no, I'm serious. I'm seeing, a really good income stream right there, and but that's great. And then you're going to talk about your strategies, and so we kind of covered, establishing the ARV, the after repair value. You're going to talk about the different strategies you looked at, and you talked about how you used the we call it iOS, okay, investor operating software, and basically it's something that's available for folks in our community, and it's an amazing tool. And I don't know how much you've had a chance to work it, really dive down to it, but it's got a great calculator for repairs. So that's really cool that you mentioned that for everybody.
Yeah, I definitely use that. Matter of fact, I went back in today, and that the software suggested that it actually gained some value since the first time I looked at it. So I was pretty happy about that, excited about that. But yes, trying to figure out my exit strategy on this, on
Mm-hmm.
meaning whether I'm going to keep it or rent it, hold it or whatever. Looking at this garage, that was an exciting part of it because, like you said, Scott, this was a potential for some additional income because this garage it does have electric service going to it, has a separate meter. So
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of options with
Oh,
that.
a separate meter.
Yes, yes.
Wow, wow, that's great. That was very smart on whoever did that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So lots of options there, whether I want to hold on to it or sell it. We can really market this thing as well. In
And you
fact,
can get to Charlotte, what, 20, 30 minutes?
about a half hour.
About a
Yeah,
half hour?
yeah,
Okay.
hmm yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, the general contractors, the real estate agent, they all perked up when they found out that this was a part of the property. Certainly adds a lot of value to it. So just, quickly, I've got some pictures of the inside of the garage. It had some vehicles or whatever in there when the last tenant was cleaning it out. So, a little bit of work to do with that, but that's pretty easy there. We just clean that thing out and it's ready to roll. No holes in the walls, dents, no need for any type of repair for that thing. So yeah, really excited about that.
That's neat. That's neat. Well, why were you showing us a tree?
Oh, on the next slide there. So a lot of people might wonder, and I've heard people, have given their thoughts on previous, property tours or, within our groups, communities and stuff. And a lot of people aren't necessarily comfortable with, having long distance projects and things like that because it's harder to physically go there and stay on top of them to see what's going on. So, um, I purchased some cameras, and you can see in this tree, it's a little camouflaged camera there, and that camera allows me to snoop in on the property at any time to see what's going on. And so I have one in front of the main house and one in front of that garage area. So I can look in any time of day and see what's going on. It's a cellular camera, so I subscribe to a cellular service on that. But I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. So Keith, we forgot to mention this a little while ago, but I think it's a great time because we're down to about a half hour to wrap things up. If you're on today as a guest and you want to learn more about the community and the knowledge and the training that Kelvin learned, and myself, and Keith and many others, and you want to learn more about us and about what we do and how we collaborate and how we're national community investors. I mentioned early on we've got coming up in a couple weeks. I know Keith will be there with his lovely bride. I'll be there with my lovely bride at our national conference, and it's in Salt Lake City. And this year we got something really special for folks with guests to kind of plug into that. So get back with who invited you. They can tell you about that. And then also today, and if it doesn't work today, we have other time during the week. We have a special, what we call overview of our community. It's kind of an introduction into everything, a little bit more than what we can cover right now in this hour-long property tour. So get back to invited you. It's a different link, so they can get you set up and you can attend that if you want. Or if not, like I said, you're busy after this. There's other time during the week that we have those. So let's kind of get into some numbers here. So you have multiple strategies. You've looked at it different ways. Are you close to deciding? Are you still running numbers, or what are you doing?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm always running numbers and kind of looking at my numbers to see,
Mm-hmm.
if they're on point and stuff like that. So that occurs all the time. But the thing about this deal, just to give you a little background, I'm a part of a community, obviously. And so I've done some different types of deals with other community members and stuff like that. And that was a huge help. But this was the first time I found a property like on my own and took action and all that stuff. Now, I lean on my community. I make phone calls and things like that, to help along. So I'm always engaging them. But I felt like initiated, on my own and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm really, really happy about that part of it. Um, so I've gone back and forth about my exit strategy. Again, the numbers worked well at the very beginning. So I feel that, and based on my education, I believe that, when I came in at a good rate at the beginning, it allows me more options on the back end. So I think I'm going to win on this property, regardless of what I end up doing, whether I sell it, flip it or rent it out. So right now, I'm back on the flip thing. So as my strategy. So I think right now I'm gonna probably finish the rehab on it, list the property for sale and get out of it. But I could change. I doubt it, but I could change. After consulting with my CPA, things like that, that helped me come to that conclusion and just kind of rerunning some numbers and things like that.
You bring up a good point about, you have a strategy, you build your network, you build your team, you conversations with your matters expert, as in like the CPA and tax preparer, as you kind of go through, like, okay, what's the best strategy for you, your company, your family, your way that you want to do things. And so that's really awesome. And before we get into the numbers, there's a couple questions that actually came in because I think some people was looking at that garage and they like that, they like the camera. Somebody asked, what brand? Well, I think what Kevin was saying is it's a cellular. So I would say check online and find, like the best cellular one that would fit for you. So that way we're not really promoting a special, a specific brand. But there was a question about, does the garage have plumbing? Because you say it had power.
No, it doesn't have any plumbing to it. That would have been a nice feature though.
Yeah, that would be really awesome because the way I was looking at it was maybe, like an RV. Like if somebody has like an RV, they want to make sure they take care of it, as you
Mhm.
get up and down the road. That's a really awesome, nice place. Or if they had like antique vehicles, they can put in there because it has power and I
Well,
think
Keith,
it had a concrete.
since you mentioned it, Keith, I was going to call Kelvin after this to kind of give him a couple of tips. We actually have a community member that I'm very close with, him and his wife, and they have a pole barn. It's a little larger than yours, and they literally rent it out for storage, and they can
Yeah,
hold.
yeah.
They can. I don't know if you have any water close by, but they can hold like 10 boats in there, and it it's an income stream maker.
Yeah.
You might check around and see if there's a lot of options in that area for that service. but you could be on to something that you could generate several $100s extra a month by renting that out.
Yeah, I am still looking at that. That was something that, yeah, definitely intrigued me, and I had been talking about that. So
It
that's
looks
coming
super
to thinking.
dry. It looks brand. It doesn't look that old. Looking at the inside of the structure, the inside told me more than the exterior. I mean, the exterior was great, but looking at the interior, really, that conduit is not that old that was used for the electrical.
Hmm.
I mean, you can tell pictures are worth 1,000 words or whatever they say the saying is. And that's in really great shape. I don't know if it has an automatic garage door opener, but that might be something if you go decide to rent it out, you may do that.
Yeah.
And then you can put a what they call a wireless keypad. Everybody's familiar with that for your garage. You can get those now that you can put up to 12 codes.
Yep.
So and it's also their Wi-Fi now. So you can literally each person who puts a code in, you get notified that they've been in your. It's it's a big opportunity. It really is, Kelvin.
It is. Yep. You're exactly right.
I'm excited. It's not even mine. I'm excited.
Me too. Me too.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
I know
I
you
just
want to
like,
get into the numbers and stuff like that for everybody.
yeah. So yeah, I just like having those options, and I like to plan things out, but we'll continue reanalyzing those opportunities and see where it takes us in the end. This is just a picture of the cam from that tree that was out.
Hmm.
It's just one of the stages of the rehab process. We finally got the house cleaned out. It's just the rest of the debris. This is already one large construction dumpster that had already been filled up and taken out, and this is going to be number two on this. We anticipate about three of those things. All right, so for the numbers, so purchase price. I got the house for 235,000. I estimated about 55,000 in rehab. That's actually up a few grand from my initial estimate. Um, but I feel pretty confident in that. Holding costs are about 39,000. I did use hard money, a combination of hard money on the loan and private money that I learned to raise. I'm pretty proud about both of them actually, because I used to frown on hard money because of the interest rates, all that kind of stuff. And then private money, I just didn't know how to even talk to people about that kind of stuff. So yeah, the fact that I've gotten myself educated and to the point where I'd actually executed that's just a real proud moment. The after repair value on this property per the iOS. Now, I did have real estate agent pulled some comps, and they did
Good.
a comparative market analysis on it, a CMA on the property. So this after repair value, I believe, is somewhat conservative. So based on what the real estate agent is telling me, and the general feel for that area, we believe that we can do more. So, but if this is what it actually is, my potential profit right now is about 70 grand. And that's based on holding this property for 6 months. So if
So
I
what would you do, Kelvin, if you decided to keep this? You run your number. I don't know. Do you have an idea right now what the going rent would be for a 3 bedroom? Are you keeping it 3 bedroom?
It's actually four
Four
bedrooms,
bedrooms, I'm
you
sorry.
know,
3.5 baths?
3.5 baths for it.
Okay. So do you know what the going price is, rent price is for
The
something like that?
when I looked, I used some software for that as well, and that's in the iOS. I think it was coming in around 23, $2,400. And
Mm-hmm.
again, if I rent the property out, I would certainly separate the garage and the house.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely consider doing that. And even if the tenants wanted both, they would probably pay more for the use of that garage. So I'm thinking, we could probably get more than 2,400 for the property, definitely in in that market.
Well,
Great.
that's awesome. Hey, so there are a couple questions starting to come through, and I know we're getting kind of close on time. So is it safe to say you didn't use any of your own money on this deal?
When it's all said and done, I would say no, I didn't have to use any of my own money. Now, using a wholesaler, sometimes they'll ask you to put down earnest deposit up front. So I did do that, but there was a few $1,000s. I did put up that money, but that money was actually used for the closing and so forth. But I'll definitely get that money back and more. And the profit doesn't even account for that piece of it. So effectively, yes, I have I've
Yeah.
avoided using my own money.
Yeah, and I get that, and that's because some people it's like 40,000 for holding costs, but when you really look at it, making a potential profit of 70, that's really awesome to be able to learn how to have negotiations and to be able to use other money. But I know there's a lot more questions, but we getting close to the end. I really wish we can continue going, but I'm looking at
Yeah,
people saying awesome job. It really looks good.
Thank
Um,
you.
I do want to throw one thing out, Keith. I
go
mean,
ahead.
real quick. I mean, this is a turnaround. Do you feel comfortable really in that 6 month frame? Pretty good.
Um, I I do based on what I'm seeing from the market. It
Well, the
could.
reason why I asked that is because I don't know about you, Keith, but $70,000 on one deal, a lot of people don't make 70,000 in a year.
I know
Right.
I mean, Kelvin and his wife do a couple of these a year.
that's a good year.
That's some good change there, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
So even if your estimate costs are up a little bit higher, and then you go to sell this product and you decide to sell it, which looks like from the preliminary numbers that you're mentioning to me with the rent figure and all that, maybe the flip is the best way to go. Again, I don't know all the numbers, but even if you only make 65 or 60, that's
Right.
for a 6 month term. It's not like it's taking you 2 years to make that. I mean, it's pretty nice.
Exactly.
Plus, like Keith has done, and because Keith, you're doing some stuff down in the Carolinas, right?
That's where our next project is in Carolina.
Yeah, in the Carolinas. And what's so neat about this, Kelvin, is you're building your team down there.
Yep.
You're building your electrical guys, your plumbing, you go find another deal. Guess what? You already got your team in place, right?
Yep. You're
You,
exactly
you got to
right.
look. You got to look at way more because this business is definitely not a sprint. We're not sprinting down the racetrack here. This is a marathon. You're building legacy and you're building wealth, and I'm super excited about this deal for you. I can't wait to see it in a few months. How about you, Keith?
Yeah, I agree with you, and this is really awesome. So, hey, Kelvin, if you don't mind, you can stop sharing because we're getting close to we at the end.
Yeah.
And what we normally like to do is, as we was kind of going through this, there was a lot of things that you were thinking about, and so we want to give this time to you to say, you know, what is it that you want to share with people who are on today who's still thinking? There's some who are doing, but they want to take the game to the next level. What are some encouraging words you want to share with them? Because what you said a lot today was you took a lot of action. So what do you want to share with some folks today?
Well, what I would say is, get in this for the long game. Scott mentioned, he alluded to that. This ain't a fly by night type of deal here. Get into it for the long game. So get educated, get yourself educated. There's a lot of people out here making deals, doing things, and they don't know what they're doing or they don't have the support of a community or people who actually know what they're doing that can give them some good guidance. So, get educated, join the community, you know, um, take action. I mean, take action.
Okay, good. Water my water bottle. Can you pick it up, please?
Oh, somebody came off mute there. I'm not sure how.
Yeah. Take action and stick with it because it's not always going to be easy. In fact, it's not
Can
necessarily
you pick it
easy.
up, please?
Yeah, we're gonna
Uh,
try to find that person.
Yeah. Keep going, Kelvin. You're
Yeah.
fine.
So it's not easy. It's not always going to be easy, but once you know what you're doing, it's a lot of fun. And again, I'd be lying if I said this wasn't a little stressful, but it's fun at the same time. So again, Get educated, join the community, and start taking some action. I mean, you don't have to have all the answers right away, but if you got that support, behind you, you can make it work.
Well said, Kevin. Well, we're wrapping up on another wonderful property tour, Kevin. We really appreciate it. Please tell your beautiful wife that we missed her, but I'm sure we'll see her on the next one.
Yep.
And for everybody on today, Keith, thank you as always. We couldn't do these without you. We'll be back next Saturday, and we're going to be up where it's still a little nippy, and that's up in Minnesota. So we've got a great property tour lined out for you for there. And again, Keith mentioned it. Reach out to invite you today and tell them thank you, and let them know if you want to learn more about the community and if you want to plug into some other things. Also, don't forget to ask them, Keith, for all the guests, to ask them about this national conference and what little thing or something that their person that invited them could do for them.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be huge.
It's going to be really huge. So for now, everybody have a blessed weekend. Kelvin, see you soon, and we'll take care now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a good day.
Awesome.
You bet.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.